Charlotte Flair demanded that WWE change these plans for her at this year's SummerSlam. Typical Charlotte Flair going in there and changing plans, and people are going to rip on her for this. But I'm not going to do that in today's video. No, I'm going to tell you why she wanted to change these plans and why I actually think it was for the best possible outcome. Because Charlotte Flair, let's be real, she gets a bad freaking rap, right? There's a lot of people that hate on her, think that she's overused, she's overhyped, everything like that. That she just gets every opportunity and that WWE shoves her down our throats. And to a certain degree, she does, right? She has been in the championship hump for literally years. She has been in the spotlight for years. She has gotten some of her breaks because of her last name. These are all factual statements. There's also the reality, though, that Charlotte Flair has worked her tail off, that she's extremely talented in the ring, and even though she's not the greatest promo in the world, she can get her mission across. She's also one of the best heels that WWE has had for the last decade. Now we are in this weird babyface run that Charlotte Flair has literally been begging for years. She's talked about this in recent interviews, talking about how she's gone to WWE management trying to get this mega white meat babyface persona over. We even got a taste of that in 2023, which seemed like the longest run known to mankind, even though it was only a few short months before she was sidelined with a major knee injury with a torn ACL, MCL, and meniscus. So now we are fast forward in 2025 after WWE had to scrap their uh, babyface plans for Charlotte, take her and make her a heel for her Tiffany Stratton feud, only to have her lose to Tiffany Stratton WrestleMania and now put her back as a babyface. Here we are. She has been paired with Alexa Bliss as of late on WWE television as two top babyfaces, and they're in the tag team scene, and they came up short at Evolution 2 while challenging for the Women's Tag Team Championships. However, new details have emerged regarding WWE SummerSlam. You know, that little event that takes place on August 2nd and 3rd? Well, a new report by Brian Alvarez of F4WOnline.com, he has some interesting notes on this card, one of which involves Charlotte Flair. The other involves Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria. Now, let's get the Intercontinental title match out of the way. He is reporting that this Intercontinental title match between Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria is slated for the first night of SummerSlam. So that is on Saturday, aka August 2nd. Let's move it along. He also noted the singles match between Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss was actually originally planned for SummerSlam. However, it was Charlotte Flair who went to WWE management, requested, demanded, if you will, that they keep her tag team with Alexa Bliss intact, okay? And as a result, plans were changed, and the duo will now challenge Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez for the women's tag team titles at this upcoming PLE, which also includes two other women's matches. I'm talking about Naomi defending the Women's World Championship against Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, and Tiffany Stratton putting that Women's Championship on the line against our girl Jade Cargill. This is interesting. This is very interesting to me. WWE clearly was building towards a program with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Okay, they were going to duke it out, and they still will. This is where things pick up, though. Charlotte Flair going to management, okay, and having her plans change. You know, we always talk about like creative control, which is nonsense, but I digress. It's only a terminology in which was introduced to the wrestling fans because of Bret Hart, who actually had creative control towards the end of his WWE tenure, the last, 6 months of his deal before he went to WCW, and Hulk Hogan in WCW. But for the most part, wrestlers do not have creative control. What they can do is, though, and which has been around for literally years, they can go to management and they can go behind the scenes and they can politic their way. They can try to talk themselves into certain situations, right? And that's what Charlotte Flair has done in this moment. The idea that WWE was planning a Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss match absolutely makes sense. That's what they've been building towards literally for the last few months. And if you look at Charlotte Flair's WWE booking, I can assure you that it has undergone various changes. Think about it. She comes back at the Royal Rumble. She comes back as a babyface. She opts to challenge Tiffany Stratton for the Women's Championship. Now, Tiffany Stratton, who had been a heel, was slowly turning into a babyface. The fans, they rallied behind her. They love her, right? And so WWE was like, oh crap. So they had to change plans with Charlotte and they made her a heel and they made Tiffany a babyface. And so they opted to have Charlotte Flair put over Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania, which was honestly the right call. Coming out of WrestleMania, Charlotte goes through this like tweener phase. There's a few different feuds in which she is teased upon, which is also Jade Cargill. Now, originally, there was a report that came out that said there was a pitch to do Charlotte Flair versus Jade Cargill, a match, hey, I was all up for, right? You give Jade Cargill a big time spotlight with Charlotte Flair, hey, I'm on board. Now, WWE, they opted not to do so because then they started having Charlotte interact with Alexa on television. And there's a lot of history between Alexa and Charlotte Flair, something in which I've documented here on the channel, including Charlotte once upon a time destroying Alexa Bliss's Lily doll. Freaking doll. I digress. So now they're together, right? And they come together for Evolution 2. They come together to challenge for the women's tag team titles in a fatal four-way match. And ultimately, it's Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss who fall short. But I like the idea of doing the tag team because if you're an Alexa Bliss fan, you have to love this news. Not only is your girl still in the spotlight with Charlotte Flair, she's still on television every week, something which was not something that WWE did with her for the first few months that she had returned at the Royal Rumble after a 2-year hiatus. She's on television on a regular basis. She's in a pretty notable program with one of your biggest stars of your WWE, and you're still going to get the payoff between Charlotte and Alexa in a singles match. So instead of just rushing through their tag team run, rushing through the storyline, getting to the payoff, Charlotte moves on to a next feud, and Alexa potentially just falling off the face of the earth like WWE tends to do with her. Yeah, I would say that's a pretty good swap. I think that's actually the right way to do it. It helps Charlotte Flair establish her babyface run by aligning herself with one of the most popular stars that WWE has, one of the most beloved stars that WWE has. And it also does a lot of good for Alexa Bliss because she's paired with one of the biggest stars and she's continuously being put on television. Therefore, hopefully, it will give her some goodwill within the eyes of Triple H and the freaking SmackDown creative team and actually keep her on television for more than just 3 weeks, right? Like, this is good because ever since Alexa Bliss was paired with Charlotte Flair on television, guess what has happened? She has remained on television. She has remained a focal point on television, and she is becoming more and more involved, intertwined into the storylines on WWE Friday Night SmackDown. So I think it's all positives. I like the fact that Charlotte Flair felt so strongly that she had to go to WWE management and get plans changed. Let me know down in the comments area below.